have the very important stuff now. We'll put foreign policy aside and talk about what we generally talk about here in the newsroom. And I must say, gentlemen, this is the first time we seem to be attracting a studio audience. People are gathering around to hear your words of wisdom because it's time for baseball season. Spring training is underway, and what most of us around here talk about, despite what we tell our bosses and so on, we generally talk about baseball from here on in.
He's giving us up all the way around.
Bob Orr is over here. You know Bob Orr, our terrorist and Justice Department correspondent. This is Ward Sloan, who is the evening news editor. That ought to give you some pause, the way he is dressed today. And over here, Rob Hendon, our man who covers the White House, the White House producer. Well, gentlemen, let's talk about it because we're all rotisserie baseball fans. We have our league here. Ward was in it for many years and finally got mad and walked away. Took his glove and went home.
Right.
But it's going to be a good season, I think. What do you think, Bob?
I'm just so glad not to be talking about more snow and terrible things like terrorism. It's going to be a great season. And I'm still a little bit aggrieved about the way the last season ended. You know, that my Phillies went down to the Yankees, so I'm still suffering there. But I'm predicting this year the Pirates will break a 17-year spell, and they will approach 500. What do you think?
And will that get them out of the cellar?
Boy, I tell you what, I'll go out on a limb and say probably not.
I'll tell you what, if the Pirates approach 500, the Orioles will be in the World Series. Okay?
Wow, that's a throwdown.
Because we only have a 13-year losing streak here, so.
Rob Hendon, what do you think it's going to, what kind of season? Who do you see winding up in the World Series?
I think the Phillies very well have a chance of repeating, even though I think the Cardinals will get to the NLCS this year. The pitching is going to be a great thing to watch with Roy Halladay in Philadelphia, and I think the Orioles have a young team. It should be fun to watch up in Baltimore, but I don't think the Yankees are going to get there.
Really?
Yeah.
They think they are.
Of course they don't. All their fans do, amazingly enough.
I don't think the Yankees or the Red Sox are going to get there.
I'm going to give you a surprise team in the American League. You don't?
No.
Here's a surprise team. Keep your eye on Seattle. This is a team that lost 100 games 2 years ago. I think they won 80 games last year. But this Seattle team has a pitching staff, and pitching wins championships. They've got Felix Hernandez. Now they have Cliff Lee. And back from the injured list, one of Ward's favorite players, Eric Bedard. That's just their top three.
Yeah, well, if you're going to count on Eric Bedard, forget it. The guy can be as healthy as can be. He doesn't care about winning or losing. I'm telling you.
When was the last team that went from last place to first place? Miami?
Wow.
The Marlins?
Worst to first.
I think Florida did do that.
Marlins.
I think they did do that. Worst to first. And it can happen. But, you know, the teams that are really good are really entrenched now. Rob mentioned the Phillies in the National League. That's a power pack team. And now they've added one of the best pitchers in baseball, Roy Halladay. So they're going to be tough to beat in the NL.
And the Yankees, despite what Rob says, and I hate myself for saying this, but the Yankees are going to have a good team.
They are, and the pitching staff is great. John Lester, Beckett, they picked up John Lackey, and then Dice K is their four-star, who's going to have a pretty good year. And I think they definitely have a good team. I think the Mariners, I think you're going to see a lot of Tampa Bay again. It's a young team.
You're talking about the Red Sox.
I'm talking about the Red Sox.
But the Yankees made a big acquisition in the offseason, and Yankee fans should be happy about this. Curtis Granderson, really good player from Detroit, is going to play maybe left field now or center field for the Yankees. He's a stud, and they picked up a good pitcher, too, in Javier Vasquez.
Let's talk a little bit about this phenom that our hometown team, the Washington Nationals, have signed. Do you think we'll see him in Washington, or is he, Steven Strasburg, or is he going to spend most of this year in the minors?
You're going to see him here, Bob, because he sells tickets. This kid, they say by all definition, may be the best prospect, not to jinx him. Going back to Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson days, he's the real deal. He's not going to start at the major league level. They want him to get a few games under his belt, but I think he'll be here by the All-Star game, and people will go see him.
Pudge Rodriguez, who has been added, future Hall of Fame catcher to the Nationals, caught him in spring training and already they said, who's he like? And he said, Nolan Ryan.
Yeah,
and let's not forget that Pudge Rodriguez, when he was younger than Nolan Ryan's oldest son, was catching. That was his first year with the Texas Rangers. He was 20 years old, and he caught Nolan Ryan in some of the best of his last years. So,
what about the Nats? Do they avoid losing 100 games?
I don't know. What do you think, Rob?
Jason Marquis is a good pickup. He should add some strength to that pitching staff, but I don't know. They've got a young kid in center field, and if Strasburg makes the team midway through the season and could win some games, we'll see. But it's a it's a tough division.
They have more legitimate Major League Baseball players, I think. I mean, last year there was a point where you couldn't really say it was a Major League team. They had Ryan Zimmerman at third base, and I guess Adam Dunn there at left field or first base.
Yeah, legitimate player.
It was pretty hard to say that anybody else was a legitimate Major League player in that lineup.
I mean, they definitely spent some money.
But they have. Yeah. They have made some good moves.
Because I think they learned from attendance that if they didn't spend money, there was not going to be.
Yeah, they had a whole lot of people dressed up like blue seats last year. There were a lot of empty spaces out in that ballpark. Let's talk about rotisserie baseball. We're all big rotisserie fans. Who's the best, going to be the best rotisserie buy this year? Any of you have I need this to file this away.
But this is tough. If you want to bargain, you want to spend $1 on a player that may return some dividends. There's a kid in Detroit playing center field, replacing Curtis Granderson, named Austin Jackson. Write it down. He runs like the wind. He can hit. He can play. That's a pretty good bargain. Is he the best player? No, but he'll be a good player.
I think my old Cardinal favorite, Rick Ankiel, in Kansas City is going to put up some good numbers, and he should be cheap. And Max Scherzer is a pitcher with the Tigers now who comes over from the National League. I think he could surprise some people, and no one will remember him in the draft, so he'll go for $1 in the last round.
Who will be the highest priced player?
Oh, it's going to be probably A-Rod in the American League. In the National League, it's probably going to be Albert Pujols. But I'll tell you something else. If you want to waste a lot of money on one pitcher, and that's a risky thing to do, this kid in San Francisco, who they call the Freak, Tim Lincecum, he might be as good as there is out there. He's the best pitcher, I think.
Mm-hmm. You don't play anymore.
No, I don't, because I don't have the deep pockets you guys have. I can't afford all those trades in the middle of the season. But I tell you, for my money, I'd pick up Miguel Tejada because he's a one-year deal, and I bet he'll go for cheap and he'll get you a lot of runs.
What do you think? What's your strategy going to be this year, Rob? Are you going to go for pitchers? Are you going to go for hitters? Are you going to try to balance it?
I'm going to go for a lot of young players that no one's heard of, and hopefully they'll surprise us like they did last year. But I think there's got to be a good balance. There's some good closers, some really good starters out there, and try not to spend too much money on pitchers that other people make me buy.
What do you think the best strategy is? Because there are a lot of rotisserie players out there. I always wind up spending too much money for a star, and then I have nothing for pitchers. And
well, the way you win is the way you win in investments. You don't spend too much, and you hope the guys you buy return the most. If you fill your roster with expensive players like A-Rod.
Wait a minute. I think we have a call. We actually have a call. Who is this?
This is Rick from Rogers Park.
Rick from Rogers Park. And your question, Rick.
Well, I'm sitting here and I'm watching. I watch every day. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching an overweight guy in a Cardinals jacket, a really old guy in an Orioles jersey, a Texan who doesn't who doesn't even have a baseball team that's worth talking about.
Wow.
And Bob Orr is waiting for a terrorist attack. And so I'm just wondering, do you think this is the year that you can take me out of my misery and the Cubs will break their 100-year drought?
No.
Oh, I don't like that answer.
Rick, I'm sorry, I don't see it. The Cubs picked up Marlon Byrd from your Texas Rangers.
Yep.
And he will help. And they got a good pitching staff with Carlos Zambrano at the top. But, boy, there are a lot of holes there.
You know my answer. I can't let Rick get out of his misery.
I think we should let folks out there know. I detected, I have an ear for these things, and I think I know who this Rick is. I think it may be Rick Kaplan, who is the executive producer of the CBS Evening News.
Oh,
he
my
says,
God.
Who? And a baseball fan to boot.
Yeah.
Long-suffering Cubs
No,
fan.
I'm not a baseball fan. I'm a Cub fan.
Cubs fan.
fans are not
Cubs
baseball
fan, yeah.
fans.
Are you even Rick Kaplan? That is who you.
We don't, of course, but we don't. We don't even know why people play baseball in the autumn. The baseball season's over about mid-August.
Not on the south side.
All right. Well, Rick, it is certainly.
All right, well, I'm going to leave you to your important issues and just say today looks like a good day to play too.
All right. Well, we
All right.
thank you for being with us, Rick.
You're
It was
very
a pleasure.
welcome.